Shalom. Call halal Yahweh Bashem Shai Bashem Rakakwadash. Double honors unto the apostles and the elders of the great millstone. Salutations to all my fellow laborers doing this work in truth and sincerity, risking their lives and their freedom to do so now more so than ever. To the scattered elect that are scattered around the four corners of the earth among the heathen nations, the Israelite foreigners, and to the Akwath that are listening and learning. To you I say Shalom. This is your brother Malcolm from the branch of the Great Millstone coming at you with another lesson. And this is a video that was put up in 2019, December 20th is the date, by the Elder Bar, one of the heads in the Chicago camp here. And it's called, Is This Guy a Black Hebrew Israelite? And I'm going to just let this video play, because it just happened to, I came across it when I was just looking into my watch laters in one of my channels, and it was way down at the bottom, and I watched it, and the spirit jumped on me to actually do a commentary on it. All right, a few things that I wanted to bring out. So without any further ado, let's just let it play. It's only like it's 5 minutes and 44 seconds. So, but there's a lot that's said, and a lot of, it's a lot that's said in this video. All right? A lot that's said. So let's let it play.
And Yahweh shall bring you into Mitzrayim, Egypt again, with ships. And the way of which I said to you, you shall see it no more again. And there you shall be sold to your enemies for slaves and female slaves, and no man shall buy you. And that is what happened to the regal class of the house of Judah.
Now I'm going to stop right there. I don't know what version he was reading from, but I have a JPS, the Jewish Publication Society. Hebrew, the Tanakh. And when you read this scripture, in the Hebrew, it reads almost as he said. But when you read it in the Hebrew, when you read it in the English translation, it says that no one shall purchase you or buy. Basically, they try to say when no one shall buy you, they try to give you by the common English language of today, that there will be no buyers. So I said you would try to sell yourself, but there would be no buyer. So they completely just changed it around what it says. And it's funny how these type of evidences, people like Vocab Malone and others, just simply and completely ignore. All right. But he's saying this is what happened to the regal house of Judah. All right. So I looked that word up in the word buy in the online dictionary, so you can go and look this up for yourself. I'm giving you the source. And it reads, redeem, early 15th century, buy back, ransom. Also in the theological sense, deliver from sin and spiritual death. From Old French, redeemer, to buy back, to redeem, to take back. So basically, the Lord in Deuteronomy 28 and 68 promises this is what will happen to Levi, Benjamin, and Judah, to the Israelites. Because, in Jeremiah, the 50th verse in the 50th chapter in the 33rd verse, it clearly says that the house of Israel and the house of Judah being Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, all right, were in captivity together. And where is that? Here in Babylon. As my new found saying, dumb as Fuckistan. That's this place. All right, it's joined the stands. It's got a new name now. All right, because I saw that in the meme and it was actually quite funny. But the next word I looked up, he said regal. So I looked up that word regal, and it says late 14th century, from the Old French regal, royal. 12th century, or directly from the Latin regalis, kingly or belonging to a king worthy of a king. All right. So you know what? Let's go to Deuteronomy into those curses, because it's promised that even our king would go into captivity, and there's no record of King David nor Moses, who are the same person if you have the spiritual understanding, going into slavery. All right. There's no record of that directly anyway. There is a record of it. I'm about to read it. All right. If you have the understanding. But this is Deuteronomy 28:36. The water Mathathia, I couldn't remember that. Brother Mathathia, the head of the mowing. Because this is, it was holding me back, and bam, he hit me right back with it. But this is Deuteronomy 28:36, and it reads, and Yahweh shall bring thee and thy king, which thou shalt set over thee, unto a nation which neither thou nor thy fathers have known, and there shalt thou serve other gods, wood and stone. So they put their hands on the regal people of the Lord, and whoever, our king was, okay, who King David came back as, that person, during that transition of time, also went into slavery. All right. So, Esau, Edom, you've got a lot to pay for. And then he did refer to house. Okay, so let me also look that word up. It said house in Gothic. Okay. This stand is kind of worn out. House in Gothic in Goodhus, temple, literally God house. The usual for house in Gothic being razid, meaning family, especially if noble. So it's like I always say, when it tells you that, in Numbers 1 and 8, that they were, matter of fact, let me just grab it so I don't fumble over it. Let me just go to it, just explain it, that, because that's it's a separate subject, but yet the same. This is Numbers 1 and 18. And it reads, I'm in 18, not 1 and 18, but this is 1 and 18. And it reads, and they assembled all the congregation together on the first day of the second month, and they declared their pedigrees after their families by the house of their fathers, according to the number of names of 20 years old and upward by their polls. So, just to throw that in there. For extra edification, that your nationality, race, is determined by your father. That's the house that you came from. That's your family line. All right. But let's let the video play a little bit more now.
And I want to give you a brief history. I won't go into it too much, but I can't just make that statement because there'll be people that will push back. But I want to give you a brief history on slavery. I was just amazed, I got to tell you. I mean, when you come to America and you talk to people about slavery, you can talk to black people about slavery, white people about slavery, and they'll give you all this history on slavery, and it only goes back to the 16th and the 17th century. And you're like,
he actually sounds offended, because whoever did this video, I don't know if Barat did it originally. I doubt it. I think he just used it. But it says they said that this guy's an Edomite, and then they always say that anytime, the men of the great millstone, that anytime that some person is pale says anything positive about the Israelites, that we say that that person is an Israelite. Well, guess what? I'm going to disappoint you and say it again. This man may be, I'm not saying that he is, but he might be one. He might be actually an Israelite. And the reason I say it is because the spirit of Esau is against us in every way. Point blank, period. The spirit of Esau, a person with the spirit of an Edomite would never do what this guy is doing. Not in all my experiences and all that I've seen. So he could be another heathen, but or he could be Jake. I don't know. But nevertheless, it's just not This is not something that you see from the average so-called white person. All right, they're not into telling the truth, and not openly. They may say it behind closed doors or off record, but never openly.
Don't they teach you the history of slavery? Why? Ask the bloody question. Why are they only teaching you the history of slavery?
See, he's too passionate about the Israelites. That's why I say that. He's actually upset. It's aggravating him that people don't know this. All right? Or they come against it when they hear it.
As far back as the 16th and the 17th century. Why are they only going that far back?
Well, because they've sold you on the Muslim and the Moor thing, which is Brand's confusion, which Moors are Israelites as well. They just took on the religion of Islam, but that does not make them not of the Regal House of Israel. They're still Israelites, okay? But Esau taught these lies purposely to cause confusion.
They don't want you to go farther back than that, because then you'll actually find out the truth. But from the 16th and 17th century, we'll teach you about slavery. You've got to go further back. And you've got to understand and question, why do they do this throughout the whole of America, in all the public schools? Why do they only go back as far as the 16th and the 17th century to talk about slavery?
Because they've committed identity theft and they claim to be us. You have to understand, the whole complete setup in the land of dumbest fuck stand is based upon fraudulent history and lies and identity theft. All right? Because all the way up into the 18th century, the Jewish admitted that they were converts. And all of a sudden, around the 18th century, they started saying that they were the actual people. All right? And they're not.
We've got to go further back than that. Because Islam designed infernal slavery. And then the Ashkenazi Khazars.
And I've talked about that in a couple of videos about the Moors and the Moriscos, and the Sephardic Jews that left Spain. The Moors and the Moriscos who became, and the Morenos, all right? The ones who came over here and helped Christopher Columbus take down their own people. The same Moors that came over here and Israelites that actually owned slaves, that actually were in cahoots with Ham, Esau, and Ishmael. All right, and these very same Negroes were Israelite themselves who helped sell their own brethren. These Moors and Morenos, these secret Jews that help and made money off their own brethren in slavery, also helped set up America, helped set up the founding, the first 13 colonies. They played a big role in that. All right, they did. And that's some history that you can go and look up. And they became the Huguenots, all right, which is a French word, all right. As a matter of fact, you remember that Paul Revere guy, who wrote the British are coming, the British are coming. Paul Revere was a Negro. He wasn't a white guy at all. He was from one of those Huguenots families that I'm speaking of.
Those who say they are Jews and are not are the ones that marketed it, and the regal Negro nomads exiled from the kingdom of Judah were the main recipients of it at the hands of the indigenous black Africans.
Which is a different race of people, Hamites, all right? All right, and the dark melanated Israelites, okay, are a different race. The Shemitic Hebrew Israelites are a different race from these Hamites, and he's giving you true history. We're going to get that in Joel after this.
Because you've got to understand, the regal class of the house of Judah came down from Israel, and they came into the land of the black Africans.
That's right.
And the black Africans resented the regal class of the house of Judah in their land because they had laws, they had customs, they had civility, and they were a regal class of Negro that came down into Africa. And later on, it was the Ashkenazi, the Islamic slave traders as well, that then worked together with the indigenous black Africans to enslave the regal house of Judah.
And that's pretty much what happened. All right. And you know what? We're just going to go straight to the scripture. I'm going to go to the book of Joel, the 3rd chapter. And so like I just got a message and started reading it. But this is Joel the 3rd chapter and verse 1. And it reads, "For behold, in those days and in that time, when I shall bring again the captivity of Judah and Jerusalem, and I will gather all nations and bring them down into the valley of Jehoshaphat, and will plead with them there for my people, for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among the nations and parted my land." And they did that because the northern kingdom, the so-called indigenous Negroid people of the Americas and the islands, were the first fruits of slavery at the hands of their own people. When many of their own people, when Christopher Columbus came over, he came over with Moors and Morenos. He brought 5 Hebrew interpreters because he knew he was going to encounter Hebrew-speaking people. And they began to take those people back to Seville, Spain, and back to Europe, and started the slave trade. It was 100 years before they went into the west coast of Africa to get Judah. All right, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi. Okay, so let's get that straight. Okay, and this was done by the people that, and this is why the Lord is going to plead with them, because then you got a whole council of people in Psalms 83. He names by race, who were all in collusion together to hide and keep our identity and keep us from knowing who we were. All right, and that's why it says, and the whole world has benefited from our captivity and our contributions to to their societies. All right. It says, and we got parted among all them. And it says, and will plead with them there for my people, for my heritage Israel, whom they have scattered among all nations and parted my land. And they have cast lots for my people and given a boy for a harlot and sold a girl for wine that they might drink. You know, that song from that movie, that black and white movie about molasses, rum, and slaves. Okay? Uncle Tom. You know, goodbye, Uncle Tom. You know, the feminizing of the boys and the slaves, putting makeup on them, and they were putting them in oil, and you know, and they use the boys and the girls both for sex, the women for sex and the men for sex. And it reads, and yeah, what do you have to do with me, or Tyre and Zidon, and all the coast of Palestine? So so those Hamitic, those dark, those Africans, that different black race, and those Ishmaelites, who also were dark complected, who were taking the regal house of Israel, of Judah, into slavery. All right. It says, if you recompense me swiftly and speedily, will I return the recompense upon your own head, because you have taken my silver, my gold, and have carried into your temple my goodly pleasant things. The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, the so-called white man. That's basically the triangular slave trade, the transatlantic slave trade, right there in a nutshell, because those ships that were sending all these people back and forth were owned by the Ashkenazi converts, all right, who are not of Ashkenaz at all. They're not even European. They're actually Edom. Okay? And Ashkenaz is a son of Japhet. So that's why you got people who think that, these people are Japhetic, and they're not. Japhet was a melanated people. All right? And it says, he says, The children of Judah and the children of Jerusalem have you sold unto the Grecians, that you might remove them far from their border. Behold, I will raise them up out of the place whither you have sold them, and will return your recompense upon your own head. See, we've been raised up. We now know who we are. And this is what they fear. And this is why they monitor our videos, delete videos, and they're this mad dash with this, invisible enemy to shutting down the whole world so they can bring in this one world order and one world government and this digital currency and basically eliminate, certain aspects of the population of people, of the people, and mainly us, to get rid of the undesirables. It's on their Agenda 21s and all the different things that they have. It's all there, man. Okay? But here, he said he's going to return a recompense on their head. And it reads, verse 8, and I will sell your sons and your daughters into the hand of the children of Judah, and I will sell them to the Sabians to be to a people far off, for Yahweh has spoken it. All right? Proclaim ye this among the Gentiles. Prepare war. Wake up the mighty man, that all the men that draw, the men of war draw near, and let them come up. So all the world is going to go to war, and the Lord is the one that's behind all this, working on the minds of men, and all these nations that are turning against America and against or should I say dumb as fuck stand. Everyone's turning against it. They're losing allies by the minute, man. And the Lord's going to plead with them all. He's going to annihilate them all and restore us to our former glory. And it says that this latter house, all right, is going to be greater than the first one. So with that, I hope this was an edifying lesson. Call Halal Yahweh Bashim Awashai Bashim Wakak Wadash Wa Abba Shalom Kwam Yasharala.